Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another amazing episode of the Great Debaters Contest, Kenya's #1 debate platform. This is where you'll find the best intellectual debates. I'm your host, Chris Boru.
And I am Esperanza Kapanga. And today we're debating on a matter that relates to health. The government should legalize medical use of marijuana. Proposing this motion are the ladies from Loreto Msongari High School.
And opposing the motion, we have Starehe Boys Center, who are saying they're going to bring it to the ladies of Loreto. Who will win the day? Let's wait and see. Proposal number 1, you have 3 minutes.
Marijuana, also known as weed, cannabis, kush, pot, or Bob Marley's favorite word, herb. This is a psychoactive drug used for medicinal or recreational use. Legalization means that the government has total control of how this herb will be used. My name is Tatiana Chiara, and I stand before you willing to strongly propose the motion that states the government should legalize medical use of marijuana. So 5,000 years ago, there was this guy, okay? He was the emperor of China, and his name was Shen Nung. He is known as the father of Chinese medicine, and he discovered that the pollen grain in a cannabis plant can be actually used to heal diseases such as glaucoma, cancer, reduce inflammation, heal epilepsy, promote uterus cooling, and is mainly used as a painkiller. This was 5,000 years ago that he would infuse this into tea and distribute it to the people of China. Ladies and gentlemen, marijuana was originally used as medicine, but I understand that my opposers would have an issue with it being abused. So what have we done? My team and I came up with a way to curb the use of it being abused or being used for recreational activities by bringing up prescriptions and licenses. So if we educate our doctors on how to prescribe the drug adequately for the people who need it, we can distribute this to pharmacies. And what can these pharmacies do? Well, they get licenses, and then they can distribute them to the people who have prescriptions. Therefore, we don't have the drug being abused. Lots of money goes into research of these drugs from things like marijuanadoctors.com, who have been committed to the advancement of marijuana as medicine and make sure that physicians' requirements are met. So once we research about marijuana, then we legalize it. Then we know that marijuana research can go into sustainable development goals. Why is this? The things that marijuana can do are limitless. We don't know any of this yet until we actually fund research for it. Also, marijuana is cheap compared to other things. For example, the United States spends $20 billion on prescription drugs. On herbs, and $200 billion on prescription drugs. Why? Because herbs are straight from the ground and they are natural. We put things in our body and we don't know half of the things in them because we cannot pronounce their names. Ladies and gentlemen, I urge you to remove from your mind the perception that marijuana is bad for you. Marijuana is addictive. Yes, it is, but if we do it in the right way, if we actually look into educating the people on the harms of this drug, then we can actually do great things with it. Thank you.
First opposer, you have 3 minutes.
My name is Steven Omkoko, Starehe Boys Center. Now, government should legalize medical use of marijuana. No. Now, what is to legalize? Is to allow or permit under law that which was initially prohibited. And what is medicine? Medicine is any drug that is taken for the purpose of offering relief, preventing diseases, or curing diseases. Now, marijuana is only a temporary pain reliever. Now, the origin of marijuana is South and Central Asia. That is where marijuana started, and it started as a drug with the aim of treating diseases. But later, it turned out to be very hazardous, and they had to ban it. And that is common sense, that when something is wrong, we should not embrace it. Brothers, why do we go to hospital? Honestly, we go to hospital to be treated. That is very common. But the question is, why should we go to hospital just to get some cancer relief? Then at the end of it all, we come back home with brain damage, we come back home with paranoia, we come back home with temporary infertility. That should not be the case. Imagine you have a shirt, the shirt is dirty, and then you want to wash this shirt. You pick a very hard brush, you scrub it completely, the shirt becomes torn. How has it helped you? Yes, the shirt is clean, but it's torn. So therefore, marijuana has the same effect to us. Now, experience is the best teacher, but taking caution is the best way to learn. In Amsterdam, marijuana was legalized. Then the end effect is that we had so many dropouts in school. There was a lot of violence in schools, and the students became unteachable. And they felt that this one is out of control. They decided to ban this drug again because it's doing more harm than good. Now, everyone craves to have a very wonderful life. And doctors are human beings, like every other human being. You'll want to have a very good life. So if these medical practitioners know that marijuana is very expensive and can get you very good money, what will refrain them from getting into the practice of selling these drugs so that they can get money from it? They'll obviously do it, and they'll have every reason to do it, because every person craves to have a very good life and a very decent life. I remember Dr. Drew Apinski. Remember, this is a doctor, a very qualified doctor, said that it will be malpractice to say that cannabis isn't addictive. Everyone who has experienced it is actually got to be addicted to it. Thank you very much. Once again, Stephen Mkoko, Starehe Boys Center.
Second proposer, you have 3 minutes for rebuttal.
I'm wondering, is it the medicines you are taking that were making you pronounce marijuana as marijuana? Let's not dwell on that right now. By the way, it's marijuana, not marijuana. He said that painkillers are better than marijuana, sorry. Even the name painkillers makes me pronounce it wrong. He said that painkillers are better than marijuana, but did you know that painkillers are highly addictive? Painkillers, as a matter of fact, don't help. Why? Let's think about chemotherapy, a method used in cancer treatment. Most of the chemotherapy patients complain that during chemo, they feel pain. And chemotherapy does not help. Why? Because chemotherapy kills both cancer cells and normal cells. Unlike marijuana, which kills cancer cells but protects normal cells. Did you know that chemicals in painkillers and pharmaceuticals cause side effects such as organic failure, internal bleeding, allergic reactions, among many others? Medical marijuana usage has been approved in 29 countries in the United States of America, such as California, New York, Ohio, among many others. Plus, this medical pain, if you don't want to use marijuana, what do you want to use? You want to use painkillers. Let's not go far. Let's think about Kenya. Kenya is undergoing a problem. We're either losing money or our money is being taken by things such as corruption, wrong usage, Let's talk about the projects that have been promised to us but not been given to us. Money has been provided for those projects, and it's a high amount. We are talking about saving the usage of money. As much as we're talking about medicine, let's also consider some things like schools, plants, let's think about it. If marijuana is natural, it means that when I'm extracting marijuana, let's start from the root. Marijuana needs to be planted. Aren't I helping farmers? I'm giving them a chance to plant these things. Think about it. Thank you.
Second opposer, you have 3 minutes for rebuttal.
Len Kiprotich, Starehe Boys Center. We live in a country whereby painkillers are highly addictive than marijuana. Are you people serious? Kenyans, do you want healthy cells after taking marijuana? Really? Marijuana is not very cheap. It is second compared to cocaine in the world. Whether or not you want to convince people that marijuana was part of the Chinese medicine, no, never. Drug is a drug. You can't save a life by using poison. Medical marijuana is only a painkiller. It can't cure any cancer. We have our own social upbringings as Kenyans and as Africans. Hence, we should not we should not introduce or use marijuana as drugs. Marijuana has heightened the chances of developing a heart attack for up to 3 hours. A study done in Harvard in the early 2000s indicates that the risk of developing a heart attack jumps to 4.8 times in the first hour of its usage. In the United States, we have 9 states out of the 51 states that has supported the legalization of marijuana. But according to the FBI, it concluded that there was a rise in violent criminal activities such as homicides. There was a danger to public health. And though it's legal in those 9 states, it still remains illegal in the federal law of the United States of America. And Donald Trump's administration right now is bringing up tougher laws on the same issue. Medicinal drugs have been misused in Kenya ever since the beginning of time. Is marijuana an exceptional? I doubt. The 40th US President, Ronald Reagan himself said, "I have now absolute proof that smoking, even one marijuana cigarette, is equal to brain damage on the Bikini Island during a hydrogen bomb blast." Marijuana will bring more harm to us than good. This is a drug. Why should we use a poison to cure? In Argentina, we have the same drug being used, but it has led to the death of many people. They don't allow the citizens to cultivate the same drugs. And it's also stated that the prohibition goes beyond the bounds of reason in that the attempts to control human appetite by legislation and make crimes is not allowed. What we are trying to do right now as Kenyans is that to use the medicinal part of marijuana to create business ventures by introducing marijuana in the country. Len Kiprotich, Starehe Boys Center. Thank you.
The proposers have been asked to give a successful case of the treatment of cancer by medical marijuana, while the opposers have been asked, would they rather take the poison and live or not take the poison, then die? Proposer number 3, you have 3 minutes to answer your question.
Marijuana decreased the death rate from painkillers in California, New York, and Ohio by 30%. www.wakeup.com. Amy Kamau, Loreto Convent, Msongari. Now, according to your question, you'd like a story where marijuana was used in the cure of cancer. A 4-year-old girl called Katie had cancer in 2015. Her parents discovered it at a tender age. So they took her to doctors, and the doctors told her to go for chemotherapy. Chemotherapy is painful. The poor child used to go home crying every day, telling her parents, "Oh, I can't do this. Chemotherapy is too painful." So the issue of marijuana came up. She went through the process of taking marijuana for 3 months, and the girl got cured of cancer. www.vox.com if you'd like to confirm it. What comes to your mind when we talk about causes of misuse of marijuana? Studies have shown that most people, about 78%, use marijuana out of overbearing emotions and fitting in, peer pressure. People have little to no forums to sort their problems. If they did, it would curb the misuse of marijuana, thus allowing the people who actually need it medically to have it. Who really wants to continue allowing people to die because of opioids and painkillers? Our first opposer over here stated that marijuana is only temporary pain relief. Rather, temporary pain relief than temporary pain relief that kills, opioids and painkillers. It is not inevitable for this to end up badly. We all have this mentality that marijuana is a drug. In 70 to 700 BC, Greece, India, the Middle East, and Rome used marijuana medically. This was like even before you were a thought. Because of the moral upbringing and moral society, there was little to no misuse of drugs. Because of the immorality society, the immoral society we are living in right now, it is hard to develop and take up new ideas, such as legalizing medical marijuana. Marijuana it's not a bad drug, it's a misused drug. If we used marijuana in the ways it was supposed to be used, it would work out pretty well. Just like when you go home and your parents tell you, don't misuse the TV, don't misuse your phone, don't misuse marijuana. To sustainably develop, we need to eradicate the misuse and misconceptions on marijuana and legalize it for those who direly need it. Thank you.
Third opposer, you have 3 minutes to answer your question.
Truly, roses are beautiful, but they have thorns too. Eugene Quizera, you can call me the thorn cutter. Now, to answer the first question, which was posed to us, whether we'd rather take poison and live or take poison and die, I think the answer is rhetoric. Taking poison and living is impossible. Taking poison to serve a certain purpose, like heal you, is like jumping out of a plane and landing right on a certain tarmac road. You will die, but you'll have prolonged the time of death. Instead of dying in the plane, you'll have died on the ground. Now, that's simply what this marijuana does to you. Scientifically proven from World Health Report. Unlike wakeup.com, which I cannot confirm, you can confirm this from World Health Report website, whereby cancerous cells, the pain that comes from chemotherapy and all those other treatments, can be curbed and can be reduced as a relief by marijuana use, not as a treatment, as a permanent solution. And I'd also like to go back to the economical question which was brought in this argument, that it will help farmers. Imagine I live in Kiambu. Now, in Kiambu, most of the people there are farmers. I'm imagining of a situation whereby all these farmers, like they have specialized in coffee, have specialized in marijuana, so that they can be able to help those cancer-sick people to relieve their pain. What prevents my son from going to that shamba and taking the marijuana and misusing it? What this will do will bring marijuana access to the people very easily. It's in the labs, it is in those chemists, it's in the clinics, you can easily access it. Unlike right now in Kenya, whereby we have strict laws against marijuana, yet 82% of Kenyans, according to the Drugs and the Psychotropic Substances Control, they say 82% of Kenyans have used, and some, 67%, are still using marijuana. Yet we have laws to curb it. Now when it is brought closer to us in terms of medicine, how much more will it be misused? And again, bringing about medicinal marijuana to be used and made legal is just going back to bringing more problems which we have for decades fought to eradicate from ourselves. And that's things like immorality. These drugs will be abused, and people will do what we know happens when people take drugs in Project X, which you all have known very well. What happens there? The main thing is you have to take the drugs, and what happens after that is a total disgrace to the human society. Now, it is also inhuman in this way. One of the major diseases that is helped by marijuana use as a medical is Alzheimer's disease, which affects 5.5 million people. Yet, this marijuana will cause people to misbehave and increase the number of 36.7 million people suffering from HIV to more millions, which is wrong. I think we should reconsider. Thank you.
Proposition, you have 1 minute to close your case.
Dear opposers, if you cannot open up your mind to saying marijuana, how do you expect to open up your mind to make it medicinal? Listen, keeping marijuana illegal will not stop people from smoking it for recreational use. First of all, marijuana doesn't even need to be smoked. We're talking about solving people's problems here. We're talking about making the drug hard to get and making the drug easy for people who need it to get. Listen. You can eat marijuana, you can mix it into food. Smoking it, yes, I agree, can promote diseases, but there's other ways in which that it can be taken in by the body. You see, you said that medicinal drugs have been misused in Kenya since the beginning of time. Honey, you're contradicting yourself. You talked about the death of people in Argentina because of marijuana, but the same painkillers you want to give people will damage them. Go out of this room right now, buy Panadol, get addicted, get a liver problem. Ladies and gentlemen, please open up your minds. Let's solve this problem once and for all.
Opposition, you have 1 minute for your closing statement.
Ladies and gentlemen, Kwizera again, Starehe Boys Center. Today I came here seeking solutions, but apparently I'm being told to take a broken bucket to a plastic surgeon. It won't work. There's a high possibility that both you and I were born at night, but certainly not last night, for us to ignore the fact that marijuana is a drug, the most prevalent drug in the world being misused. Yet, we want to sugarcoat it that it will help 2% of our population, so we bring it up and kill 40% more of our population. Maybe my mom will be suffering from cancer and she'll need that drug to relieve the pain. But what about my brothers, 4 of them, who have a very bright future ahead of them, who might take advantage of that drug from my mother and end up never, ever becoming the potential citizen Kenya needs? I believe we need to look at the bigger picture. I'll not open up my mind, I'll open up my heart.
Tatiana, that was a good start, and I like your history, especially how you started with the history and the China reference. I think that was commendable. For Kate, good speaker as well. However, you're a cross-examiner, so the question was, did you do that? Good research with the cancer. However, what are your sources? Remember, anytime you give us a source, it's good to say which. With the creation of employment to farmers, I thought it was very creative because farmers would have to do that, and also commendable. For Amy, legalizing lowers the demand. That was a very interesting, and I loved it, because probably if it's just legalized, probably will not have, because of the, I think you're talking about the place of demand and supply, that if it is all there, probably people would not even want to look for it. But you could have backed that up probably with countries where it has been legalized and tell us, listen, look at this place and look at the numbers of abuse that we have. So there could have been a little more depth in explaining that. To Starehe, I know Stephen gave a history, but your history was quite different. But when I look at the source, it was quite different. Yes, that could be your own creative way, but I think China takes the day from the research that I also did as well. Lane, you mentioned some titles like the President of the United States. It's good to refer to them with their respective titles because they're not our colleagues, you know. Yeah, fair submissions though. Eugene, that was good as well for you, and I think you came out as a very sober debater. In Kenya, right here in our country, there is a situation, and I think it was just some weeks back, and a media station was reporting there is already use of cough syrup that is now becoming a drug in the country. I thought probably such references could have helped you firm up that sometimes even this particular medicinal uses could be abused. So I thought there could have been more examples. All the best to both teams. I wish you well.
The judges have awarded the winning team 70.5%. And the school that wins the day is Starehe Boys Center. Let's give them a round of applause. Let's also appreciate Loreto Msongari for being awarded 70%.
You can't win every battle, but sometimes victory is in the form of a graceful bowing out. That's it at the Great Debaters Contest for us today. The show is over, but the search still continues for the greatest debaters in Nairobi. I have been your host, Esperantia Kapanga.
And I am Chris Boru. Till next time, see you.